Good morning, my friends. I'm back here to discuss celestial realms, exploring the Akashic chronicles. We're now on chapter 14 in the series. I want to remind everyone that if you really want to go deeply into whatever I'm saying, then go back the first in the series and slowly, sequentially follow the argument that I'm creating for life after death. So, just very briefly, if your ontological primitive is physical reality, if you believe that matter is fundamental reality, then this conversation will be irrelevant to you. You will not believe anything I say or even relate to it, in which case I just want you to know that feel free to disengage, delete me and erase me. But if your ontological primitive is that consciousness is the fundamental reality, and everything else, that book, your body, those paintings, the furniture, the sky, the sun, the moon, the stars, the Milky Way galaxy, everything is a projection of consciousness, a dreamscape, then please stay with me, because we are going to explore realms today that may be beyond our usual imagination. Just remember that imagination is how we start everything. Imagination is dependent on memory, and memory is dependent on past experience, and past experience interpreted by human beings is called constructs. So we experience perceptual activity in consciousness, we interpret that, we give it names, labels, and ultimately we reify the experience in consciousness as the physical world out there. But the physical world out there that you're experiencing right now is a projection of your consciousness. You never actually experience a physical world. You only experience perceptual activity, and most of it is recycled as constructs of colors, sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, shapes. Basically, modified forms of awareness are interpreted as the physical world, including the physical body. So right now, your physical body and the physical world that you're experiencing right this moment is a projection of yourself. And by self right now, I mean your soul, and by soul I mean awareness, which is infinite, but one aspect of that awareness that we call the monad, the individual, or rather not even the individual, the software that will express itself as a changing dreamscape in which the mind and the body and the physical world are a unified experience, your projection, in waking state of consciousness, not in any other state of consciousness. And innumerable states of consciousness are available. Each state of consciousness creates its own biology, its own nervous system, and its own modes of knowing, its own modes of experiencing, its own knowledge, and so everything changes. Reality is different in different states of consciousness. The brain is different in different states of consciousness, and perception is different in different states of consciousness. Thoughts are different in different states of consciousness. Knowledge is different in different states of consciousness. And locations of space-time that we call universes, all of them are in consciousness as different states of consciousness. So the journey through cosmic time, the soul's journey through cosmic time, is a metaphor. All there is shifting states of consciousness or being. Having said that, there's a metaphorical expression in the form of storytelling. To be human is to have a story. So we've been telling stories ever since we became self-aware. Mythical stories, religious stories, all kinds of stories. Romantic stories and fictional stories. Because we are storytellers. Our life is a story. And our life is the projection of our imagination based on karma, memory, desire, interpretation of past experiences. The more we can learn to witness that, then we see that for every choice there are infinite choices. For every thought there are infinite thoughts. For every story there are infinite stories. There's a backstory, there's a present story, there's a future story, and there are alternative stories. Each story is a different loka. In other words, we are the imagination of ourselves, and our world, our relationships, our professional interactions, our perceptions are all a projection of our relationship with ourselves. And as we expand our awareness, then we navigate different lokas. And this I have already spoken of in the first 13 in this series on Mystery of Death. So today we go beyond. I'll read from my notes and then we'll go further. Death of astral life leads to slumber, which leads to preparation for rebirth in a physical body. To continue its evolution, the soul must renew the attractions it needs to fulfill, and it needs to fulfill its desires and the need to incarnate with other souls with whom there is a karmic relationship. The reason to keep coming back to the material plane is to fulfill desires and renew relationships with souls with whom there has been a previous kinship. Now, when we say material plane, we mean, of course, the projection, the imagination, the memory that gives rise to the present experience we are having, which we call physical reality. But remember, it's an interpretation of perceptual activity in regular, ordinary, waking state of consciousness. Nevertheless, we use physical material as a metaphor. The soul then awakes slowly from its second period of sleep, and the effects of the slumber can continue well into childhood and early stages of growth. When you are first born, there's some element of soul slumber present. The baby drifts back and forth, not fully aware of its physical surroundings. Sometimes this can last into adulthood, and you may notice people who don't seem to be fully here. They are still partially in their soul slumber. Usually, however, there's gradual awakening of awareness through childhood and adolescence. The dreaminess of youth is often due to soul slumber and still not fully being awakened. The exceptions to this being child prodigies and geniuses who have woken up very early. And of course, a soul that has worked through its karma and has awakened will not have that dreamlike appearance or will have more witnessing awareness. But most people on earth carry some degree of a hangover from the soul slumber in the last life. When a soul has completely worked out all its karma, it loses all earthly desires in this physical plane. It has transcended all material objects and attachments in order to explore the journey ahead. There is no need to be reborn on this physical plane, which is again perceptual activity and its interpretation in the waking state of consciousness. But there comes a time where there is no need to be reborn on astral planes as we know them. The soul continues to spiral upwards. That's a metaphor. All it's doing is changing states. The soul continues to spiral upwards to continue its evolution on planes we cannot imagine. We are reborn to express and exhaust the force of unfulfilled desire. In the absence of rebirth, the soul moves to higher and higher realms of existence, to an infinity of them that are beyond the scope of our present imagination, which is based on our past experience and interpretation of perceptual reality. So these realms are beyond our present imagination or understanding. As Rumi said, when I die, I will soar with angels. We can imagine angels, right? But when I die to the angels, what I shall become, you cannot imagine. You'll have to have the imagination of the angel to go to the next phase transition or change of state of your own being. So, in addition to the astral planes already discussed, there are celestial realms. There are celestial realms which belong to higher astral realms of existence, vibrating at very high frequencies. These are still in the imaginable realms, just as each religion has its imagined hell or heaven. There are, however, very high levels, close to unimaginable levels. Again, high levels means expanded shifts in states of awareness. At a certain level of evolution, some souls may choose to complete their evolution in the celestial rather than returning to the physical world. Once a soul has reached these levels, it would normally want to retake a human birth, except it would normally not want to take a human rebirth, except to provide a particular service and would complete its last material cycle, otherwise in the celestial realm. So the reason for incarnation to the human realm by bodhisattvas is to help other people take the next shift in their state of being. The force of evolution is always to go to the most expanded level. But your karmic limitations may not allow you to go beyond a certain level at a particular time, in which case you must keep returning and recycling and evolving to the next step. Most people, of course, are unaware of all this, and it continues to happen spontaneously, simultaneously, through the force of evolution. Consciousness self-evolves. Right here, right now, we are surrounded by an infinity of planes. The celestial as well as the realms of suffering, so-called tormented souls, tormented minds, and all kinds of conditioning in souls exists right now in our surroundings. If you could shift your perception right now into one of these higher vibratory frequencies, you could be with whatever you imagine. Demons, angels, divine and wrathful deities. In the field of infinite possibilities, you are existing on all these levels at the same time, but at the level of experience, you exist in only one, your own plane of existence at any one time. During astral projection or travel at night, when a person is asleep, and this is what I do at night after yoga nidra, the astral body actually leaves the physical body. So you can astral travel, and if you want, we can discuss techniques for extrasensory perception, astral travel, awakening of dormant non-local potentials, clairvoyance, clairaudience, precognition, remembering past lifetimes. This can be all done through practice and introspection and going inward, and through yoga nidra and the desire to travel different lokas in imagination, which then ultimately actualizes as entangled perceptual activity. The interpretation of that is, I'm in a physical loka in space-time, but actually it's all a projection. So if you want, we can do all this. But during astral projection, which I practice, metaphorically speaking, the physical body remains attached by a filament to the astral body. And if it gets severe in astral travel, then you could get lost in the astral world. So one must practice witnessing awareness and know lucid dreamingly, in lucid dream, that one is in the realm of the subtle world, in the imaginal world, and is lucidly experiencing it as a physical reality, just like this physical reality is a lucid dream in a vivid now, being the perception or perceptual activity in waking state of consciousness. So sometimes people get scared in these astral realms, they get lost, but if you practice lucid dreaming, yoga nidra, then you can always be secure in the knowledge that you can navigate astral planes consciously. So if you realize that everything you experience is actually imagined by spirit, by consciousness into actuality, from the lowest to the highest level, from demons to angels, and everything in this universe, there can be nothing dangerous about that, because you are the one that's playing with sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, giving them constructs and reifying them as the experience of a particular reality. So ghosts, demons, angels, and regular people, you and me, are all imaginary forms of a universal spirit or universal consciousness. You are the imagination of yourself, not of your ego self, but of your true self, which is an aspect of the divine self. So all of that is part of the play of consciousness that we call Leela or Maya, the projection. The projection. Maya. Maya means mother, mater, matter, time, measurement, music. Maya is a measurement of the infinite as a finite experience. This perspective that comes to us from the Akashic chronicles, from the seers and sages of all time and explorers of reality, of consciousness of all time, this perspective is actually very intellectually satisfying. Different theologies claim a more fixed viewpoint, saying that heaven looks this way or that hell is here, purgatory is there. This could be intellectually disturbing. Imagine that you're a devout Muslim and you showed up in a Christian heaven, or vice versa. Those are versions of lokas based on current belief systems or allegiance to a particular ideological framework, which ultimately is based on experience of fundamental reality, which is transcendence, the emergence of Platonic truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, love, compassion, joy, equanimity, and the loss of the fear of death. So whenever expectations don't meet reality, you're disappointed. But given the scheme that I've given you, you shouldn't be disappointed. Every imagination is just that, imagination, and it creates the entanglement of sensations, perceptions, images, feelings, and thoughts, which we interpret as the physical world of space-time causality. And every version of the afterlife is therefore partially correct, not wholly correct, because in the end, the afterlife, the life in between incarnations, and the life you're having right now, and the life you had before you showed up, is actually all a projection of the true self. All a projection of the true self. And that's all there is. Okay, so fundamental reality is inconceivable, incomprehensible, infinite, irreducible, without cause, without beginning, without end, therefore timeless. And therefore also spaceless. And getting in touch with that is giving us the ability to creatively plan our trips to various lokas. So, when people take psychedelics, they say that's a trip. But look at a baby that's just born, it's tripping all the time. Or look at somebody crazy like me, I'm tripping all the time too. So what does tripping all the time mean? It means shifting states of being, shifting thoughts, shifting perceptions, shifting imagination, shifting sensation, shifting volition, shifting emotions. And as you do that, you project different realities. But they are all perceptual realities. they are not fundamental reality, which is unimaginable, irreducible, infinite, and inconceivable. But without it, no experience. Elvira, so I am a ghost angel. Yes, Elvira, you are. Gina, consciousness always is. Correct. Julia, what a trip. Yeah, we're tripping all the time. What a trip. But in a sense, we never leave home, because in order to take the trip, you have to leave home. But this tripping that I'm talking about in different celestial, even unimaginable realms that we will ultimately encounter, those trips are simply shifts of states of being. Raymond, click on the settings gear and choose report. Okay, no, my video is doing very well. The settings are clear, everybody's enjoying it. So maybe the problem is at your end. Elena says, I'm going to get the ebook of Life After Death. Yeah, it can give you some clues, but we should go even as deep as the book and even beyond. And reading a book is helpful because it shows you the map, but in order to explore the territory, you have to do the work yourself. And we can do it together. If you like, I can talk about various trips and going into different dimensions, all consciously. Okay, so my friends, are you enjoying this series? Because I'll only continue if you think it's useful. But where we are today is that infinite worlds do indeed come and go in the vast expanse of consciousness, like motes of dust dancing in a beam of light. So, what should we do? As an ending, I'd like to actually read something from an old tattered book of mine on the Upanishads. And I'll just take one phrase, one aphorism from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. And it says, there is fear from duality. Non-duality is fearless. That's it. All fear comes from the socially induced hallucination of the separate self. When you know you're connected to the source, all fear disappears eternally and now. So should I choose a mantra for today? Here it is. Om Abhay Nama. Abhay means without fear. Om is the cosmic I am. That's my name. Abhay. Without fear. So you can just repeat that mantra. Abhay. Without fear. Or Om Abhay Nama. Thanasis from Athens. Hello. LaShawn says, appreciate this lesson. Everybody's happy that the video and the audio is working. Shall we continue on this kind of vein, exploring mystery of death and beyond, and then ultimately also how we navigate different realms consciously in this life? If you like the idea, I will keep exploring this. So Shalma says, lucid and interesting to listen. Well, that's all I want. As long as it's interesting and clear and helpful, I'll continue. And if you feel so inclined, you can also read Life After Death. Thank you, my friends. See you tomorrow.